Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 6:30 and I'll call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have announcements for all of our upcoming meetings, and we have one proclamation. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, June 6th and Tuesday, June 20th at 6:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, June 13th at 6:30 p.m. And we have two special work sessions. Tuesday, May 30th at 4 p.m. and this is for our commission interviews. These are candidates for our commission. And then Wednesday, May 31st at 6 p.m. and that's the continuation of the interviews for our commission. Now, the meeting at 4 p.m., the special meeting is in conference room D, and on Wednesday, 6 p.m. in conference room D as well. All meetings of the City Council are held here in the council chambers. And we have one proclamation, and that is National Public Works Week. I'll do it from that side. Members of the council, guests and citizens of Burnsville, National Public Works Week. Whereas public works service provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets and highways, public buildings, fleet management, and parks. Whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the public works maintenance personnel are called upon in emergency situations at any hour of the day or night to clear snow from our streets, keep our water and sewer systems operating, keep our trees strong and healthy, maintain the fleet of operations and emergency vehicles, and prepare our parks, buildings, playgrounds, and facilities for the public's enjoyment. Whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, construction, and maintenance, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of the public works staff. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments are materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, proclaim May 21st through the 27th, 2017 as National Public Works Week in the City of Burnsville and urge my fellow citizens to observe this period by acquainting themselves with the issues involving in providing our public works and recognizing the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Proclaimed this 16th day of May 2017. Mr. Albrecht, if you would come forward, please, and receive the proclamation. We ask that you also extend to your staff our sincere gratitude. Council members, for all of the work that you guys do. Here you go.
What does Marty say?
Tell how to smile. Everybody.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Great work. Absolutely great.
The next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. And I believe Mr. Crawford You will speak on the issue. If you'll come forward, please, and take the podium right here, and give us your name and address for the record, and the concern that you're bringing before us this evening.
Certainly. My name is Doug Crowfoot. I live at 2501 West 140th Street. And that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. This is like a deja vu for me. I think Mayor Kotz and perhaps our attorney were here back in 2009 when someone recently released from prison wanted to start a halfway house in a rental home next door to me. That didn't happen as a result of a meeting we had here. But as of May 1st, we now have someone new who's moved into that house, a level 2 predatory sexual offender, someone who's molested 9 and 10-year-old girls. I met Mr. Pappas the morning after he moved in. And he seemed like a nice gentleman. It wasn't until a week later when I received a letter from the police chief explaining who he really was. And as a result of the meeting in 2009, I became a neighborhood watch captain of the Neighborhood Watch organization. And so I felt it my responsibility to sort of see what's going on next door to my house. I noticed a couple of cars that would come and go frequently, and finally I decided to ask if they maybe were with the corrections department, which was true. So I wanted to tell them that the school bus stops in front of this man's house. The children line up in his driveway, 10-year-old children, and it seems like we've dropped the ball there a little bit. Fortunately, school will be out soon, and maybe we don't have to worry about that. I didn't see Mr. Pappas again for probably another 2 weeks. I did have a short conversation with his correction officer. I haven't seen them for a week until tonight. They actually were there tonight. But to my chagrin, there's somebody else moved in. This person has an ankle monitor and has never left the premise since I saw him there. One of those GPS kind of things. I don't know who this person is. I don't know why he's there. But it begs the question, who's renting the facility? Mr. Pappas? Somebody else? Is it an official facility now? Is it unofficial? Who's responsible for it? Who's responsible for taking care of it? The landlord is still the same landlord from 2009. So the reason I'm here is to ask Mayor Kotz, I don't remember who started the meeting that we had back then.
Yeah.
But the meeting, you were there.
Yeah.
Joel, you were there. The police chief was there to explain their position. The Department of Corrections was there to explain their position. One of the patrol officers, and in fact, one of our legislators was there as well. So my request is if you could set up a similar meeting. A few of the faces behind me, I think, were there then, but most of these people are new and have not had the opportunity to ask the questions that I'm sure many of them have.
Thank you so much for coming before us and raising that concern that we all have. And I'm going to have Mr. Jamnik speak to it, and we have officers in the room who really understand what is going on. And your concerns are my concerns. One of the things that we have tried to do is to try and understand what homes are being rented. And also, Ms. Faulkner is here because we have a rental license program that we put in place so that we know who's renting their homes and to whom. And so I'm not sure who owns that property, but we could probably find out. Mr. Jamnik, can you please address this issue?
Mayor and council, members of the audience, we have dealt with this issue
Yeah,
off and on for well over 10 years.
yeah,
Just so you know that the issue is extremely complicated. The city's authority is limited. We simply can't say no. The Department of Corrections releases individuals that have served their sentence with conditional release. Our ability to limit group homes is limited by federal and state laws. So we do the best we can. Part of that is with a very vigilant police department and active monitoring. But the Minnesota Sexual Offender Program, as you know, has been in the news. There's going to likely be more releases in the future. And so it is a growing concern, and many cities are reviewing their ordinances and looking at them. We've been talking about that here for about 4 or 5 years. The problem with many of those ordinances is that from a social studies perspective, they haven't really been super effective in dealing with the issue. Most of the offenders are relationship-based, either with family members or acquaintances, student, counselor, other relationships, family relationships. It's not just a distance issue or in the neighborhood. Having a bus stop and those types of things are obviously a concern, because if a relationship does get developed, there is a public safety concern in those situations. So we will look at those types of things as we make recommendations to the council as we go forward. Certainly from a staff perspective, we're fully willing to set up a meeting and meet with people to talk through some of the details of all of those things. It's really a complicated fabric of a variety of different regulations and laws and programs that are in place, and it's only gotten more complicated since 2009.
and I think probably if we can have a meeting downstairs and pull in everybody so that they can ask their questions and have a sense of comfort.
I'd like to see
Because
that.
that's what we did. And the other is that at that time too, Ms. Faulkner, do we know if it is a rental property? If you can look into that, and then let's find out, is it a rental property, who owns the property and so forth?
Madam Mayor, this is my first introduction to the property. I'd like to know what the address is. That would be helpful.
I
that we're
think
talking
our
about
police
this.
department,
some of that.
and we
We
have
know?
that, we have
Okay.
that address, because
Certainly.
the notice went out to all of the neighborhood about it, so.
If you don't have it, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
But thank you, and thank you for bringing it in, and all of the folks who are here, you will also be notified when we have that meeting. But we've had those meetings downstairs, or we have them in a church location. I think one of the ones that we had was at Prince of Peace. But we'll work together and find a way so that you all get the information you need to feel comfortable and safe in our community. So it is our concern as well. Is that going to be okay? We'll get it all done. Yes, please come up and give us your name and address for the record.
A follow-up. My name is Natalie Fight. I reside off of Friendship Lane 2408. I have just one follow-up question. In this meeting, is the city going to be aware of this released offender's probation conditions, including that he's on supervised release from probation, and that he is not to have any contact with any minors under 18, and that he's also living on each side of him and across the street from him are minors? Is the city going to address those conditions? Is probation going to be at this meeting?
Yes, our, Mr. Jamnik.
Yes, we've received the information from Department of Corrections regarding the release information, and some of that, not all of it, will be available for discussion. But some of it, again, it's part of the complications of this, is some of that information for a level 2 offender is different than a level 3 offender.
Yeah. So we'll have that, we'll have the personnel necessary to answer questions. We want you to feel comfortable, and that you do live in a safe community.
Will probation be there as well then?
We can ask for
Yeah,
them.
we can invite them to be there. We've had people from the State Department, and we've also had Mr. Backstrom, our county attorney there, so we can see that we bring everybody together. We want you to feel safe.
Wonderful. And is the property owner also present during this meeting?
We don't know yet. We're going to do some research around that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, everyone. Mrs. Crawford, yes, please come forward. Yes.
I'll only take up a minute. Marlene Crowfoot. My concern is that think someone did a survey. There are many daycare facilities within a very close radius of this neighborhood also. So let's keep that in mind also when we're
Okay.
looking at.
Yeah. Know the area very well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. You'll be all notified. You received the notification, and so you'll also get notified again. Thank you for coming in and expressing your concern, because we're concerned as well. Thank you. If there's no one else who wishes to speak on an issue that is, okay. Very good. Thank you. We'll move on. Ms. Johnston, are there any emergency items to come before the body?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? Thank you. We are at the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item can be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Anyone? Seeing no one, Ms. Johnston?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Keely makes the motion, second by Councilmember Coughlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the item passes. The first item on the regular agenda is a public hearing, and this is to approve off-sale liquor license for J&D Perrier, Inc., doing business as Perrier Wines and Liquor at 13720 County Road 11. Ms. Collins, our city clerk, is presenting. Ms. Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. This is an off-sale license for Perrier Wines and Liquors. This is going to be in the previously occupied Burnsville Liquor Outlet space on County Road 11. John and David Perrier own other locations throughout the metro area, and they are available here this evening to answer any questions you may have. All the necessary paperwork and fees have been submitted. The police have conducted an investigation on the principals involved and found no reason to deny the license. This is a public hearing. I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Collins?
No.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Coughlin makes the motion, second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries.
Madam Mayor,
Congratulations.
Is the owner, the new owners here that would like to maybe
They're
speak?
here. Do you, I don't know whether they wanted to speak. Did you
We'll
want to
put you on the
speak?
spot. Would you like to get up to the microphone and tell us about your new business?
It's a liquor store.
Wine? I want to hear about the wine.
Thank you. My name is John Perrier. I live at 13805 High Drive, Burnsville. We've looked at this location before a few times, and it's just hasn't worked out here. We're happy to try opening another store, bring some more business into the town.
Thank
Have any
you.
questions?
When is it opening?
As soon as we can.
Okay, very good. Just so everybody knows that
Yeah.
the liquor store will open again under a new name
Yeah.
and new ownership.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes. Yes.
Anything in particular that your store will sort of define itself? Any areas of specialty that you plan on doing?
You know, now with the big box places in town and everything, we kind of specialize as your local store. We try to make sure we have, we carry extensive craft beer. We do a lot with wine, but mostly we're your local neighborhood.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Item number 6 is also a public hearing. This is a resolution for a vacation of a sewer easement on Lot 1, Block 1, Hedberg, Burnsville, 3rd edition. Mr. Albrecht.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I have two back-to-back,
Yeah.
what I'd call housekeeping easement
Yep.
vacation items. The first of which is a public hearing for a resolution for vacation of a sewer easement on Lot 1, Block 1, Hedberg, Burnsville, 3rd edition. In this case, we have an old sewer easement that was rendered unnecessary when a new easement was granted by the property owners many years ago. Unfortunately, the old easement was not vacated. It actually runs under the existing building. In order for a pending sale to close, we need to vacate the easement. This easement has been reviewed by city staff, by all the utility companies. It's not utilized at this point, and so we are recommending that the council adopt a resolution for vacation of the sewer easement. But again, this is a public hearing, so I'd ask you to open the public hearing, take any comment from the audience, and then close the public hearing. I can answer any questions, and then consider the resolution for approval.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Albrecht? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to address this issue? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Coughlin makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and a motion carries. Mr. Albrecht, the next is also a public hearing, and this also is a vacation easement for lots 16 and 17, Block 3, Crestwood Knolls, 2nd edition. And housekeeping.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, again, we have another situation where we have a garage over the top of an easement that runs along 2 lot lines that are now part of the same lot that was never vacated. And so again, as part of a pending sale, we need to have a vacation of this easement. It has been dispersed for comment to all the utility companies. Staff has reviewed it, and we are recommending the council adopt a resolution for vacation of an easement on lots 16 and 17, Block 3, Crestwood Knolls, 2nd edition. And again, this is a public hearing, so we'd ask you to open the public hearing, take any comment, close it, and consider the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Albrecht? This is a public hearing. I now open a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Keeley makes the motion, second by Councilmember Coughlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and a motion carries. Item 8 is also a public hearing, and this is a resolution ordering the improvements and advertisement of bids and approving plans and specifications for Lady Bird Lane Phase 2 project. Mr. Albrecht.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I have another public hearing for you now. This one will take us a few more minutes, as this is the improvement hearing and we need to go through a few details related to this project. Lady Bird Lane Street Improvements Phase 2. I'll go through the project area, our process, the project overview, and the special assessment methodology. This project encompasses the Lady Bird Lane area. Phase 1 was this section of Lady Bird Lane in blue that extends to the solid orange area, and then Phase 2 is this dashed area. We are in the process of actually completing construction on Phase 1 as we speak, and so that will be done here within a few weeks, most likely. Phase 2, if approved and moving forward and we get good bids and the council moves forward at that point, would proceed later this summer and potentially be done before the end of the year also. To go back with the process, last August, the council received reports on both phases 1 and 2. We held a public hearing on phases 1 and 2. We only ordered the plans on phase 1 because we did not have enough funding at that time for phase 2. And because that improvement hearing is more than 6 months ago, that is why we're holding another improvement hearing related to this project tonight. As I mentioned, phase 1 is currently under construction. Phase 2, we are at the point now with the second public hearing of phase 2. And then in theory, phase 2 could be, we'd complete the plans and specs, and then they'd have an assessment hearing later this fall for phase 2 also. The project necessity, I'll show you some pictures in a second that'll explain the project necessity, but the Lady Bird Lane area is one of our areas of the MRQ with severe soil issues and honestly is a rundown industrial area. The project phases 1 and 2 really are going to revitalize this street area, make it much more sellable to the developers who have completed a significant amount of soil corrections in this area already to be able to market this property. But one of the stumbling blocks to selling the property was the conditions of the roadway in that area. These projects are also adding lighting, which is important in that area of town. That area has become a place where people like to dump things because it's dark down there and they can leave things in the dark and it's not an issue. So that is an important part of this too. We have a high volume truck area. There's a lot of commerce traffic in that area. So again, this dashed section, that would be section 2 of the project that we'll be considering tonight. Lady Bird Lane improvement notes. We will be assessing the properties adjacent to it. We will be similar to what we're doing right now, maintaining access to those properties. The road is in pretty poor condition as it is, so access to them won't change dramatically even when the road's torn up because of the condition of the road in many areas. And they will actually have the new road out to the north, so they'll have that end to go out during construction. I was taking one step back. We did have a meeting last fall with all the business owners of that area, and actually none of them came to the public meeting, but we did correspond with them. There's a few businesses that own the majority of the properties there. We corresponded via email and phone with them over the last year on this issue several times. With all of our projects, we will have our updates, and we have a web page set up. We also have an inspector assigned that they can call at any time with questions. The project, this is the section of roadway. What I'll draw to your attention is you'll notice that we have curb and gutter existing on one side of the road and it's gone on the other side of the road. And I state that it's gone. It was there at one time, and over the years that curb and gutter's actually sunk into the poor soils. And so we've continued to pave that road as it sinks over the years, which actually the road condition isn't as bad as you might think, but that's because every couple of years you have to do paving lifts as it continues to sink because of the subgrade corrections. Another look at that roadway. And so what has made this project be able to move forward are some grants. Our Community Development Division, our Economic Development Coordinator, Skip Nienhaus, has been working hard. He's obtained our Host Community Grant for 2018 for this project, and he also obtained a CDA grant for this project. And those two grants are significant when you look at a $1.1 million project and you're able to bring almost $700,000 to bear of grant funding to that project. That is a significant thing because there aren't, if you notice, there weren't many properties on this project, and the road is in such poor shape, it's a pretty comprehensive reconstruction of the roadway, and that gets very expensive, and we'll talk about those rates in a second. The assessment for this road will be 40% of the street cost per our city policy. We factor in the grant funding, and then the city pays 60%, and the property owners pay 40% of that. After that is factored in, and then all the utility costs after grant fund are paid by the utility funds. Those were previously budgeted for this project and carried forward anticipating that we would get grants. The special assessments, the good news here is last summer we were looking at about $150 a foot. With the grants, those have dropped to $50 a foot. Wow. So that's a significant
Really
savings to those property owners. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to do it at a substantially subsidized rate, which is why this area has remained undeveloped, because it's not feasible without some assistance to correct the roadways on the properties. And again, depending on the amount of the assessment, but in these cases, these commercial assessments will be more than $1,000, so they would have 15 years that they could finance that assessment with 4% interest. Public comments, we have not received any. As I mentioned, we've been interacting with the property owners over the last year, so they're aware of this project. And that is all I have for Lady Bird Phase 2. So with that, I would ask the council to open the hearing, take any comments, and then close the hearing and consider whether to approve a resolution ordering the improvements and advertisement for bids, approving the plans and specifications for Lady Bird Lane Phase 2. Remembering that we will go out to bids and this project will come back to you again before it is ordered to make sure that we feel comfortable with the costs.
Now, we hope that the legislature will continue to have that host grant in their budget for the deed portion of it.
We do. This grant is
for
secure.
18.
This one's for 18, so we
I
do have
know
this
it.
money. So that's the good news.
Yeah, that's the good news, but it's
Yes.
in one of the budget, is it the,
Senate bill.
yeah, it's in the Senate bill that it's
But the conference report had it at the full level.
full
so.
level, yeah. So we'll wait and see. Yes, Councilmember
Madam Mayor,
Keating.
maybe for the viewing audience, if you could give a brief explanation of what that fund is and why it's so important to us.
The fund is very important to us because we're a host community to landfill. And when we hit the recession, one of the things is that our host fee money decreased because there wasn't much municipal waste going in. And so one of the things to maintain our economic vitality was to go out for this host community grant. And there are only 2 landfills in the whole metro, and that's here in Burnsville and Inver Grove Heights. And so because of those funds that come through deed, we're able to get that kind of money for economic development. And this is exactly how it should be used. So it will continue to improve the economic vitality of the Minnesota River Quadrant in an area that Mr. Albrecht spoke to in terms of the soils in that area, and we've been working very hard. Our staff did a wonderful job in helping those property owners to correct the soil by taking the soil that we had in the 5 and 13 reconstruction and cleaning up and filling all the bad soils that they took out of that area and replacing it with the soil from there. So a lot of things went into it that people don't know. So, but thank you, Mr. Albrecht, to you and your staff and our construction companies in doing all of that moving. And so we didn't have to pay for all of that dirt to go very far. We used it to help correct the soils. So, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Keely makes the motion, second by Councilmember Coughlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Albrecht. Members of the council, there are no other items to come before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilmember Coughlin makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Keely. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.
Good night.